So good afternoon everyone, and welcome to this meeting of Invercargill City Council. Welcome whether you're in the chamber or whether you're watching from home on live stream. We have no apologies today, so every councillor is present in the chamber. Does anyone have a declaration of interest they wish to make? No? Okay. So as we said at the last inaugural meeting, at this time, every meeting, we will have a statement of reflection with each councillor, hopefully somebody volunteering each day to do that. So Lisa Tau McNaughton, Councillor Tau McNaughton, you've got one for us today, don't you?
Orana koutou katoa me taki no tea tuatau kia aki kite o te titai manako. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to share a reflection with you all. This triennium, there will be several major decisions Council will need to make. These decisions will require thorough research, analytical and critical thinking, active listening, robust debate, humility and grace. Whakatauki, or proverb, speaks to this.
So,
I've got a picture. He rangi ta whata whaiti, he rangi ta whaka whanui, which says, a person with wide vision has plentiful opportunities. My wish for us as a council and as a community is that we continue to have open minds to ensure many positive opportunities come our way, whilst making wise decisions to enrich, grow and benefit our community, not only in this triennium, but for the future.
thank you, Councillor. So normally at this time we would have public forum, but we have no public forum today. So if we can go to tab 5, which is the minutes of the council meeting held on 23rd of September. Sorry. I'm sorry, I'll go back. So we have later items to put in the agenda today if the council wills. So we have the minutes of the Extraordinary Risk and Assurance Committee meeting, and the acceptance of the major light item, the adoption of the annual report. So we have to, and sorry, another one, the minutes of the public excluded session of the Extraordinary Risk and Assurance Committee meeting held on the 7th of November. Will someone move that we accept those? Thank you, Darren, and seconded by Steve. Any discussion of those? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. So that takes us to the minutes of the meeting of council held on 23rd of September. Will someone move those? Thank you, Councillor Dermody, and seconded by Councillor Bond. Is there any discussion of those? All those in favour say... Sorry, Councillor Dermody.
Just one question in relation to point 12, the recommendation of council around the speed limit. When will we get the paper? I think we asked for a paper to be brought back around the review of the speed limits out Tisbury and around the back of Otatara. When will we be getting that paper?
Through yourself, Your Worship, I'm happy to take that away and come back to that at the next meeting with a timeline in relation to that report. I just need to give my team a bit more time to actually work through when they can present that back.
So with that clarification, we've had it moved and seconded. So all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. So then we have the minutes of council, actually the Chief Executive under delegation, held in the Mural Lounge on the 29th of October at 1:30. Will someone move that we receive those? Thank you, Councillor Crackett. Seconded, Councillor De Vries. Is there any discussion of those? Yes, Councillor Bond.
Thank you, Your Worship. The question I had just from reading through this is what happens if the grant funding is not successful for this program to be rolled out?
Self-worship, I'll just switch to that item on the agenda. Just looking up the speed one first. Through yourself, Your Worship, I can actually get my GM Rex Capel to actually answer that.
Through you, Your Worship, alternative sources of funding would be sourced, or if not, then the program would be not taken or not go ahead.
So have you identified who that alternative funding source could
Not
be?
yet. The team have been working with the Invercargill Licensing Trust in a partnership approach to. Invercargill Licensing Trust have indicated real interest in the project and have been part of the process of planning for it. So it's just a matter of working that through. If they then do not do or do not support it, then it will be reconsidered.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded. So all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. We then have the minutes of the inaugural council meeting held on the 4th of November. Will someone move that we receive those? Thank you, Councillor Demity. Seconded, Councillor Stewart. Is there any discussion of those? In which case, all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Tab 8 is the final plan for the Local Governments Commission consideration of the Southland Reorganisation investigation. Who will speak to that? Ah, Rhiannon, you were there already. Crept up on me.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Your
Rhiannon.
Thank you, Your Worship. This relates to the process commenced during the last triennium and the feedback provided by the previous council and the final plan for the investigation provided to council now from the Local Government Commission. So I'll take the report as read and I'm happy to answer any questions.
So, questions to Rhiannon? Yes, Councillor Bond.
Thank you, Your Worship. I note on page 2 of the report, down in the issues table, that we had raised with Local Commission about the affected party with neighbouring councils and that they should not be on the stakeholder list. And the responses come back that they have confirmed they will remain on the list. Can you talk more about that?
Only to the level of detail, Councillor, that is included within the Local Government Commission feedback. There's nothing further that I could add to that.
Are there any other questions? Yes, Councillor Demity.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Clark. Sorry, Mayor Campbell. Sorry.
Brilliant slip.
Yeah, it is. Just with respect to the report, a question firstly. So at any point, and probably after phase 2, does the Commission say actually, based on feedback from stakeholders post phase 2 being completed, noting that they're going to do feedback at each phase, that they say, look, stop, there's no obvious way forward here, or there's no way that this is going to get through, or do they complete the whole process before they make that call?
So through you, Your Worship, correct, at each end of each phase they may decide on the balance of evidence through the process to pause and say that the process is resolved and that they will not proceed all the way to the final poll. Yep.
Is it the case isn't it the case that they can do that at any point? It's not only at the end of a phase? Would that be the case?
My understanding is that they've indicated that it will formally happen at the end of the phase. I wouldn't know whether they would then potentially do it at another point.
Okay, thank you.
So may I supplementary, Mayor Campbell? It's a comment really around, it feels as though, we've put those recommendations or requests to them and they've pretty much said, get out of your way, we know what we're doing, and a bit nervous about that process, so it's just a comment really.
Any other questions? Yes, Councillor De Vries.
Your Worship, what constraints are placed on this council
to agree or disagree publicly with aspects of that plan, reorganisation plan, once it is finalised? Are we able to say that this is our preferred, option A is our preferred option, or are we expected to be quite neutral on the topic?
Through you, Your Worship, I'll pass that to the Chief Executive.
Through yourself, Your Worship. The plan that's presented at the moment is a plan to actually complete the works, not a plan to provide, actually give out the options associated to that. Those will be generated over the time. Council's always holds the right to have their own position in relation to their views, as do any of the stakeholders that go through the process. And the end situation will be that they will come to a final position if they go through the full process. The final position will be a poll in relation to the community, and that will be a yes/no poll, not a options poll.
I think it would obviously be more powerful if councils, plural, could come to a common view. And I think as we go through the process, that there'll be some effort to try to test whether that's possible. But in the end, Councillor, not only can individual councils have a view, but individual councillors can have a view and express a view. We don't have to come to a common view, even within this room. But I think there will be an attempt. I would certainly hope there'd be an attempt between the councils to arrive at a common position, because that would be the strongest, I think, argument to make to the Commission. Other questions? Yes, Councillor Tom McNaughton. Speak into your microphone.
Pull it forward. Yeah, it'll move forward. It needs to move. Yeah.
Oh, box.
Just a question with regards to Appendix D in the document. Will there be an opportunity for other people to be included within those stakeholder?
So my understanding is that there will still be some flexibility through the process, but that they will be working primarily off the stakeholder list as it's presented in the final plan, and that they will be discussing kind of any changes with all councils together at once.
Okay, so if there are no other questions, will someone move that I think we can probably move numbers 1 to 4 together, can't we? So, Councillor Boyle, you've moved. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Broad. Is there any more discussion? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Takes us to the paper on the delegations to the Curbside Waste Consultations hearing and the local alcohol policy hearings panels, and again it's in Rhiannon Sewer's name.
Thank you again. So this paper relates again to matters commenced in the last triennium. The curbside waste options were adopted for consultation, and Invercargill City Council and Gore District Council have been out. We have concluded consultation, and it was agreed at the time of the adoption that we would work on a joint hearing panel if that could be proceeded with. So on that basis, arrangements have been able to be made, and we're recommending the two nominated representatives there, Councillor Crackett and Councillor De Vries, on the basis that you are the nominated representatives to the Joint Waste Advisory Group. Gore District Council are also nominating 2 representatives, and the first item for the panel would be then for the panel to elect a chair before the hearings are undertaken, and they are proposed to take place towards the end of this month. And the second matter is the local alcohol policy. That draft policy for consultation was adopted again by the previous council, and this matter is just simply clarifying the hearings process, that the new Invercargill District Licensing Committee would hear that item, and consultation is expected to commence in January on that matter.
Thank you. So questions to Rhiannon? There are none. So I think we might take item 1, 2 and 3 separately in this case, since they're dealing with completely separate matters. So let's just do number 1. So number 1 is that we receive the report. Will someone move that we receive the report? Thank you, Councillor Stewart, seconded by Councillor Crackett. Any other discussion? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Recommendation 2, which deals with the Curbside Waste Hearings Panel. We have the nomination of the 2 representatives who are on that Joint Waste Advisory Group. Will someone move that? Thank you, Councillor Boylan, seconded by Councillor Stewart. Is there any discussion of that matter? If not, all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Thank you. Recommendation number 3 delegates to the Invercargill District Licensing Committee to hear the local alcohol policy consultation. Will someone move that? Thank you, Councillor Crackett, and seconded Councillor Toe McNaughton. Is there any discussion of that matter? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Brings us to the paper on council remuneration, and this one is in Michael Morris's name. So you speak to that.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I won't go into the detail of the total remuneration, but rather just set out the background and the what will happen after this for you all. So as you know, the Remuneration Authority sets a total pool for the council that it is required to spend. It must spend the total amount of that pool. That pool was has been an increase from the 2022 term, and this pool will be reviewed in time for the 2028 elections. How it's divided up is a matter for council to decide. This is the paper simply sets out some recommendations. Once council resolves to adopt the remuneration, this will be then sent through to the authority for the authority to confirm. The authority does have the ability to reject what has been proposed, and I'm aware that that has happened in the past to some neighbouring councils. If the authority accepts what we have proposed, there will be a further determination issued in mid-December, in which case the increase of remuneration will then be able to be paid through to each councillor, and will be backdated to the date of either the mayor's appointment of the deputy and chairs, or in the case of the deputy chairs, through to the inaugural council meeting. If we miss, and that deadline is this Friday, if we miss that deadline, then the next opportunity to have a new determination will be in either February or March next year. So with that, I'm of course happy to answer such questions as I can.
May I just add to it, Michael, that we last triennium agreed on what I would describe as the algorithmic approach which is described in this paper. It was basically, if you take a councillor as 1, the deputy chair would be 1.1, the chair would be 1.3, and the deputy mayor would be 1.5. And then for those of you that know your algebra, you make councillor salary X and you solve for that, and you end up with the numbers that are in the table. There's many different ways of approaching this, and everybody could argue for a different way, but this is what we use. So it's included in this paper because this was a system that we used last triennium. So are there any questions to Michael? Yes, Councillor De Vries.
It's just a clarification on the 4th page of the report. It notes that the deputy mayor chairs and deputy chairs increase over and above the minimum remuneration we backdated to 21st of October. The following sentence talks about the deputy chairs being backdated to 5th of November. So I just think it probably needs to pull the deputy chairs out of the first sentence.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, apologies for that. I was clearly over-enthusiastic.
Agenda very well.
Any other questions? If not, then let's go back to the resolutions. So the recommendations are that Council receives the report and that we adopt and recommend to the Remuneration Authority the following remuneration, which is included in the table below. We'll take both of them together. So will someone move that? Thank you, Councillor Crackett, and seconded by Councillor De Vries. Is there any discussion? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. So we will move to tab 11, which deals with the remuneration for Mana Whenua representatives when those are appointed. And again, it's in your name, Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Your Worship. Again, this paper is setting out the proposed remuneration for the Mana Whenua representatives when they are appointed. This has been based on what was done by the previous two councils when the roles were confirmed and, of course, initially adopted, which is setting at the remuneration to be at the base remuneration for a councillor set out by the authority. There are, of course, many ways that this can be determined. It is a matter for council to decide, and there is no right or wrong answer in how this is to be determined. Other examples throughout the country sit on an hourly rate, some sit on a per meeting basis, and others sit on a monthly allowance. This is what this council has in the past adopted and has been recommended in accordance with that tradition, but of course it is a matter for this council to determine at what level that is to be remunerated at this time. And just as a caveat, the Remuneration Authority has no role in setting the amount for Mana Whenua representatives. This is a matter purely for this council.
Okay. So, questions, and it's no discussion at this stage, it's questions to Michael Morris. There are no questions. Will someone move the recommendations as they are? Thank you, Councillor Dermody, seconded Councillor Boyle. I'm sorry, is that a question?
No, sorry, I believe that Councillor De Vries, sorry, Your Worship, actually had a question before you moved.
Oh, I'm sorry, was that a question?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
My question was around the way that the paper has been presented to us. We are not acknowledging that there are other independent representatives that will be holding roles into this on this council as independent members of certain committees, and I think that that should have been acknowledged, because the way that this is presented signals that Mana Whenua are the only group that will be provided with remuneration.
Sorry, can you turn that into your question?
Well, why has it not been put through there?
Through you, Your Worship, this is because Mana Whenua representatives are unique in their role. They act as and are accorded the dignity and status as councillors around this table. The independent members, such as the Chair of Risk and Assurance Committee, the independent member of that, and the independent member to be appointed to the Water Committee, do not have the same dignity and status around this table. Therefore, it is appropriate to keep Mana Whenua representatives as their own unique paper, and when time comes for the appointment of the independents, the two independent members of the Risk and Assurance, excluding Mr Jackson, and the Water Committee, that will be dealt with at a separate time in accordance with their own paper. It is simply just reflecting, hopefully, the mana and status that we accord those representatives.
We already had a move on the seconder. Can I just clarify, Councillor Dermody, you moved it. Were you moving all four of the recommendations?
So was, yeah.
You are, and Councillor Boyle, I think you seconded it. Were you seconding all four? Is that your understanding?
Yes.
Okay then. So we have a move on a seconder, so we move to discussion. Yeah. Yeah. I was checking who was first with their hand up.
Rises to his full 5'6". I think it's worth bearing in mind a little history lesson, because I understand there's some passion around equality. When we went through the last representation review in one of the questions that was out for consultation was whether or not we looked at the introduction of a Māori ward. Interestingly, when the consultation panel went to the Murihiku Marae, the answer was no, which surprised us a little, but the korero was really interesting, because with the Māori ward, anyone can stand for it that is registered on a Māori roll, whether they be mana whenua or mata waka. And the feedback that we heard was that mana whenua wanted to ensure that people at the table were representing the voice of Waihopai and Awarua. And therefore the mana whenua representation was their preferred model. That was what was brought to council and subsequently adopted. We weren't the first council to do this. From memory, Environment Southland were already operating under that. It's worth recognising, and I know it's a slightly prickly point, but the role is not the same as a councillor. Mana whenua have the chance to speak and vote at committee meetings. Mana whenua are afforded by this council the opportunity to speak at a council meeting, but under the Local Government Act cannot vote. There are differences in the responsibilities as a consequence, and also the community represented, bearing in mind that we opted for an at-large representation system rather than a ward-based system. And so there's not quite the same level of responsibility. That's not a reflection of mana. I'm encouraged that the actual remuneration amount is well up, but we need to recognise that it isn't the role of councillor, it is a mana whenua representative. The model in its entirety comes up for discussion again when we go through the representation review in 2026.
So Crackett.
Thank you, Your Worship. I too share the same concerns as Councillor De Vries in the sense that, and I absolutely take Michael Morris's point around the mana of the role and the separation of the mana whenua representatives from our other appointees. But my concern is how the report is framed, and I think that the delineation between the two could have been very clear in the report. My concern is that it doesn't actually paint the full picture of how much this governance structure is going to cost us in terms of non-elected members. And I know Councillor Stewart raised it in the inaugural meeting around, are mana whenua people elected? And we're also appointing additional non-elected members that cost us, ratepayer funding. And if that remuneration for the other appointees, which it has been, we've got the chair of risk and assurance, we've got a potential another independent to risk and assurance, we've got the potential, we've passed one for the new water committee, and there's been talk about a second independent for the water committee. We've got the potential to have about 6 additional members in our governance structure that has. If the remuneration is set as to the same level as what the mana whenua roles are, there is a potential there for for transparency's sake for that to be around another $300,000 on top of our total remuneration pool. And I think that's the piece that concerns me the most, in that the positioning for this paper is that we speak only to what the remuneration is going to be for mana whenua, and it creates this divisive conversation out in the community when really the scope of the whole governance structure as it's been set is far larger than that. And so I would have far rather seen a report that gave mana to mana whenua positions, but also gave transparency around the other appointees that this council is looking to put into place.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Stewart.
I've made no secret about the way I feel about the mana whenua reps. They were not voted on by the public.
But that's a done matter, Councillor Stewart. So this is a discussion about having approved that we will have mana whenua representatives. This is a discussion about what they should be paid.
I don't agree with them getting paid for it.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Yes, Councillor Bond.
Thank you, Your Worship. As I go through this report and thinking about the input that we have had in the last term from our two Manawa representatives, and I was recently going on to the marae learning about how they are appointed and how the inner wheels worked, I don't think for one moment that anyone sitting at this table, whether they're elected or not, should not be paid. Then that would be a pay equity issue, and that's not something that our council wants to move into. So I do support Manawa whenua receiving a salary, and whilst we know from Councillor Ludlow, who's given us a history, that the two roles are materially different, this salary level there, I feel, is a reflection of that.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Demity.
Yes, thanks, Mayor Campbell. I also appreciate, Darren, your history you've given us to this, and I think these are really important roles around our council table. We heard last week with our visit to the marae around the importance that iwi and mana whenua place on this role in terms of our connection with their perspective and view around the challenges and decisions we're making. So, you know, I'm really comfortable with the level of pay we're landing on. I do also see there is a difference in the responsibilities of the two roles between councillor and mana whenua rep, and so supportive of that on paper also.
Thank you. If there's no other discussion, then I'll... Okay.
Sorry. Look, I don't know if I don't agree with the arguments that have been presented, and I think that there is more context to what Councillor Ludlow has shared today. What did the City Council want to get out of that initial probably one of the representation reviews? What did we want to achieve by allowing Māori voice, whether that was through the Māori ward system or through mana whenua representation? For me, it was most likely about our ability to uphold our commitments and obligations under Te Tiriti. Te Tiriti is not about having mana or dominance over another party. It is about how we work together in partnership, and that is why I believe that we should be looking at an equal rate of what the minimum role that a councillor at this table is going to be remunerated at should be the same for a mana whenua representative.
So I'll take, I think, one more, and then we'll put it to the vote. Now I'm calling
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. I think, look, language is really crucial to this decision for me anyway. It's not about the concept of mana whenua representation, of value, of our duty and responsibility under Te Tiriti to protect the voice of our local runaka at this table. Those decisions in my mind were made last week, and I'm actually really proud of our council for upholding what I believe are our significant duties to uplift and always protect our partners within our runaka. For me, it is just solely around job description at this point, just in line with we've just made decisions around council remuneration based on workload and the material differences that exist between roles, right? So for me, it is workload, it is hours, it is responsibilities, expectations, liabilities, commitments to groups across our community. The differences in line with mana whenua reps versus the ward role and how that is structured and therefore remunerated. So for me, the question today is: are there material differences in the roles and responsibilities? And I'm grateful to all of the perspectives, but I believe there are some. As I think about our ratepayer as well and our wider community, I believe there are material differences in the roles, and I'm comfortable with where remuneration paper.
So I will put the recommendations to the vote, and of course, if it fails, somebody may wish to, propose a different recommendation. But so all those in favour of the 4 recommendations there as they stand, I think we'll do it by show of hands. So all those in favour, please put up your hand. Those against? Okay, thank you. So the motion is carried by 9 votes to 3, I think. Thank you. Pardon, my iPad has decided to.
10, 11, 12.
So the next one is change of meeting dates. And
Thank you, Your Worship. At the inaugural meeting, we passed the remaining meeting dates for the balance of the year, and upon getting back to the office, my team discovered that we needed to make some minor adjustments. Because they were made by resolution of council, we're bringing them back to resolve to adjust those up to and including changes for the inaugural Water Committee meeting, as well as changing the Risk and Assurance Committee meeting date because of the chair's availability. So a very simple report.
2 recommendations, Your Worship.
Second that.
you move? Okay, is there a seconder?
Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Dermody. Is there any other discussion? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. So that takes us to the major late item, the first of which is the minutes of the Extraordinary Risk and Assurance Committee meeting held on the 7th of November. Will someone move that we receive those? Thank you, Councillor Dermody, and it's seconded by Councillor Arnold. Is there any discussion of those? All those in yes. Councillor Pottinger.
Just as a matter of standing orders, do you have to be a committee member in attendance to have done it, or just be in attendance?
You mean in terms of receiving the minutes?
Yeah.
No, council receives the minutes, so if you're a councillor, you...
No, that's okay.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
You need to be a member of the committee to move.
To move,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, councillor, with that? Okay, that takes us to the tab 14, which is the adoption of the annual report. I have a number of recommendations there. We note that these have been considered by the Audit and Risk Committee and have been recommended to us. We have a bevy of accountants in front of us who are going to speak to the paper. Patricia, are you going to start, or?
I'm going to start. This is going to be I think this might be a tag team effort, this one. So, Your Worship, Council, this is a culmination of 5 months' work by the finance team and along with our partners in this, in Audit New Zealand, to bring you the annual report. Well, Brian will talk through the actual performance. There's a couple of items that I do want to do. I want to introduce the full council to Ethel Graham, who is our appointed auditor from Audit New Zealand. He will talk through his report. But I'm also tabling, which you should have in front of you, both the signed audit report from Mr. Graham as well as his report to you as governors. Those that have been around this table for more annual report, for a number of annual reports, will notice it's in a different format, and Mr. Graham will talk through that, but that is the report to you on the work that was undertaken as part of the audit. So, as His Worship has said, the draft annual report was presented to the Risk and Assurance Committee on Friday the 7th of November. At that point, Audit New Zealand were just finalising their final audit work, and there has been some changes to the version of the annual report that that committee saw. Nothing is significant. In fact, there has been a late change to the version that made the agenda as they are doing their final checks. They found a couple of items which we needed to change. Nothing significant that doesn't change the numbers on the face of the financials. It was a disclosure note and it was in around property, plant and equipment. The net book value has stayed the same. It's just a change in the numbers to get to the same number. Is one of the more complicated notes. I will now pass to Brian to go through those headline pieces around performance and financials, because this is more than just the numbers. While there might be, as His Worship said, a bevy of accountants up here, a lot of it is actually about the non-number aspect.
Thank you, Patricia. Through yourself, Your Worship. So at a high level, the first version of the annual report was presented to Council back on the 16th of September. We've since had a few adjustments have come through. At a high level, we've had a GST revenue correction, a few sundry adjustments. We've had a revaluation adjustment to our roading assets, and we've also had a late correction to our depreciation on water assets. The overall result of those adjustments has resulted in a net deficit for the year of 270,000, which is better than budgeted. In addition to that, we've also had the Statement of Service Performance, which has shown that we've achieved 71% of our measures. That's a total of 82 measures. And we've not achieved 29%, which was 34 measures, and those numbers are relatively consistent with the 2024 annual report, which in which 72% of the measures were met. And I think that probably summarises it in terms of our balance sheet. Overall, we're reporting total assets of 1.56 billion. There's been an increase in the revaluation of roading assets, and council borrowings has ended at 154 million. So in terms of the prudential measures, we've met 6 of the 8 benchmarks. The balanced budget has ended at 99.7%, which has been an adjustment as a result of the depreciation changes that came through. The other measure that was not met was the operations control benchmark. So I'll pass over to Athol now to take us through his thoughts on that.
I think before you do, I think it's notable actually that the balanced budget benchmark was almost 100%, 99.7%. I mean, you know, if you look at the last 3 years, we've been trying to work towards a balanced budget. It looked as though we had fell a bit short this year on the basis of the earlier numbers, but to have come to 99.7, I'm going to call it a balanced budget. Right? To have a balanced budget is, I think, very notable, considering some other things that have been very notable, such as the maintenance of AA+ and so forth. I think that's very notable. So I think it was just worth remarking in that rather than let it just pass through to the keeper. I know you did mention it, but I thought I would just to highlight it. So anyway, with that, where do you want to go now?
So through you, Your Worship, we'll ask Athol to present his report, which you've got in front of you.
Athol, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I'll just give a bit of a brief overview of the report, which just touches on the key aspects of our audit report. So just to start off, I just want to thank Patricia and Brian and Stephanie for working well with us right up to the very end. We had a couple of late things last night, just as we were dotting I's and crossing T's with that team. So thank you to them. And we actually brought although we're not quite on the stat deadline, we had planned for the audit to go a little bit longer, but we agreed we'd bring it forward to today to line up with this meeting. So that was also worth noting. So the audit report itself, which you'll adopt with the annual report, is unqualified in relation to the 2025 performance information and financial information. There's a qualification in there in relation to a comparative over the smooth travel exposure performance measure. We gave, my predecessor gave some recommendations and worked with council who acted on those, improved the data and systems to report that measure, which meant we were able to remove the qualification from the audit report for the 2025 year, which was great. The only other thing I will comment on, and there's other things in the report, but I think that these are the two main things. The other main thing was the valuation that was what we would call a significant risk. So we spent a lot of time, in particular because the valuation went up significantly for the roading assets. Two main asset classes were revalued. So land and buildings, which we'll call one class, and then your roading group of assets, another class. Land and buildings sort of moved as expected, but the roads, went up to an extent that we weren't expecting. So we put a bit more effort into that. The main reasons for the movement were increases in the replacement value of those assets, offset by, and the value was view, an extension of the useful life of those assets. So in their view, based on historical data, those assets were likely to last or are likely to last a little bit longer than had previously been expected. So those two things in combination drove an increase in the valuation. I will pause there just to give council.
So are there any questions of Athol? Athol, everybody's happy, so is your report finished, or?
Yes.
You are? Okay, well, thank you very much. So I'll go back to Patricia then, and Patricia, is there anything else you need to add?
The only other thing I would add, Council, and this is mainly for the rest of the team that are actually often watching this on live stream, is to thank my team. And it's not just the finance team. This actually, to do an annual report, as all the councillors are more aware, it's every part of the organisation. They all have levels of service. They all have received, nearly all of them will receive questions from the auditors, which we need them to turn around on top of their additional BAU. It's a big thank you to them all for getting their stuff through to the team, so that it can be compiled into the document. And it's not a small document, as councillors will attest to in their agenda. And apologies for putting it in one of your first meetings. But it is a lot of work. I want to thank them all and thank for the support that they have given the team while the finance team gets pretty much bogged down by audit for a big chunk of the year.
Thank you. Well, adoption of the annual report is, one of the most weighty accountabilities that any council has. So obviously, it's important that we are comfortable with it. So I think when we come to the approvals, then if anybody still is uncomfortable or has any questions, then, please raise them. But we will go through it that way. Sorry. Michael, you had a comment?
Yes, thank you, through yourself, Your Worship. I just want to add a big thank you not only to my organisation and my staff, because this is not just a report effort, this is a whole year's worth of effort in relation to achieving these outcomes, and actually setting that platform up with, as our auditor has stated in relation to the 2025 being the unqualified. It's the first time we've had an unqualified position in relation to the base going forward. Hopefully we can stay on that, and looking at the auditor there saying hopefully we can achieve that, so we've got an unqualified next year, which will then be completely unqualified. It's also in reflection to our governance as well, so a big thank you to both past and present governance from council perspective in relation to the go forward and on that as well. So takes both teams to be able to achieve that goal, so thank you for the whole organisation.
So if we go to page 73 of board books and look at the recommendations, 72 and 73, and look at the recommendations on those pages, I think the numbers 1 and number 2 are both for noting, so I'll take those together. If someone, thank you, Councillor Demery, and seconded by Councillor Arnold. Is there any discussion of those before I put them? Okay, all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. So then we come to recommendation number 3, which is the adoption of the 2024-2025 annual report for Invercargill City Council. Will someone move that, please? Councillor Demery, and seconded by Councillor Tow McNaughton. Is there any discussion of that? If not, all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you. Number 4 authorises that the Mayor sign the Audit New Zealand Letter of Representation for the 2025 annual report. Will someone move that? Thank you, Councillor Stewart. Seconded Councillor Councillor Boyle. Did you say? Anyway, I missed you. Is there any discussion of those? Of that one? No. Okay. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Recommendation number 5 is to authorise the Mayor and the Chief Executive to sign the Statement of Compliance on page 35 of the 2025 annual report. Will someone move that? Thank you, Councillor Broad and Councillor Bond. Seconded. Any discussion? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Item number 6 is to authorise the Group Manager Finance and Assurance to make any minor changes to the annual report prior to publication where necessary. I will ask a question on that. Define minor for me.
Minor would be typos that has been known for them to sneak through, or if when the final version goes back to the audit team once we've inserted the audit opinion, there's often the need to change page numbers, or they might find something through that. If it was anything major to a number on the face of the accounts, I'd be bringing it back.
So, will someone move number 6? Thank you, Councillor Bond. Give you a turn. By Councillor Demery. Any discussion of that? No. Okay. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. So, recommendation number 7. You want to tell us here a little bit about what that means?
We have, and you're seeing the large version of the annual report. We also do, was it 15 pages? The summary annual report, which is a 15-page version, which will also be audited by Audit New Zealand. That is still in the process of just having the final touches made to that draft so it can go to audit. So this resolution saves that document coming back to Council and authorises myself, the Chair of Risk and Assurance, the Chief Executive and the Mayor to release it and sign it as necessary. As Audit New Zealand will sign that and provide an audit opinion on that summary, that it is a summary of what's in the annual report and does not include any new information.
Right, so it's a Reader's Digest version of the annual report and contains no new information or no information which Council has not seen. It's just in a more concise form.
Yes.
That be right?
So it's for more people. It's in the hope that more people will read it than will read the full version.
So will someone move number 7? Thank you, Councillor Broad. Seconded by Councillor Ludlow. Is there any discussion of that item? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. And that completes that item. In fact, it completes the public session. So, yes, Councillor Boyle.
I'd just like to say that I particularly like the new format. I found it very easy to identify what was the key points, so thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you very much to Audit New Zealand. I mean, this is a far smoother process, if you excuse the road analogy. It's a far smoother process than I think that certainly we had 3 years ago. As I recall, it was a lot more fraught than this one. So thank you for making that so. So appreciate that. So thank you. So that closes the public part of this meeting. So thank you very much for everyone who's on live stream and for public members in the public gallery. And we will take a 2-minute break.
I'll move, Mayor Campbell, that we
sorry.
go into public excluded
Oh,
to
I'm sorry.
discuss the 3 items as listed in the agenda for the reasons as listed.
I can second that, Mayor Campbell.
So let me just catch up with you, right? You have just moved that we move into public excluded. So let's take that first. Seconded by Steve, I think. Seconded by
I think Grant had
Grant. Any discussion of that? All those in